Pennsylvania Cooking. Today we're making a cake. One of my friends' birthday is coming up and I'm making this cake for them. It's their favorite, German chocolate cake. Now, some interesting history about the cake. It's actually an American invention, and it owes its name to the English-American chocolate maker named Samuel German. He developed a formulation of dark baking chocolate that came to be used in the cake recipe. Sweet baking chocolate is traditionally used for the cake's flavor, but not too many recipes call for it anymore. But I'm doing the original, true to form, true German chocolate cake, so I'm using it. And the frosting is basically a custard, shredded coconut and pecan, and there's some steps to this cake. So let's get to it. I'm going to show you what goes into it, and the recipe will be in the description below. There are several steps to this, so if you're not familiar with doing this kind of a cake, the cake part is easy. It's the rest of it, assembling it and getting it together, that's going to be a little bit more tricky. But the directions will be in the description below the video. So let's get to it. First off, you want to have some preparation. I have all the ingredients ready to go. I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees, and I have my 2 cake pans buttered and floured. And I don't skip this step, and I don't use non-stick cooking spray for this because it does not turn out the same. So one of the things that we need to do is toast our pecans. So I have 3½ cups of pecan halves. I'm going to spread them out on the sheet good. And I'm going to pop them in the oven for about 6 minutes and get a nice toast on them. And then we'll chop them up good. Next are the cake ingredients. So 3 eggs, 1 egg yolk, 1½ sticks of butter, buttermilk, sugar, flour, cocoa powder, baking soda, vanilla, salt, and the semi-sweet chocolate I use for stuff like this. I use the good stuff. I use Baker's. And the butter and the eggs need to be room temperature. Next thing we're going to do is melt our chocolate. So I have a double boiler going here of sorts, and I'm just going to start melting the chocolate in that. You can melt it in the microwave. That is just not my preferred way of doing it, so I don't do it that way. I still like using a double boiler. I think you have more control, and you don't burn it. So and then after we get this melted, I'm going to let it cool a little bit. And while it's cooling, we're going to work on the cake batter so that that's ready to go to incorporate the chocolate in that's cooled. You just want to keep stirring it around so it melts pretty evenly. Okay, this is pretty well melted. You want to make sure it's nice and smooth, shiny, and that's what you want. I'm going to turn this off. And like I said, you never want to do this on direct heat. You always want a double boiler. Like I said, I know some people use a microwave. I just don't like to. So I'm going to let that sit here and cool, and we will work on the cake part next. So we're going to get our stuff ready next. I'm going to add the flour and the salt and the cocoa powder and the baking soda. And I'm just going to give that a stir with the mixer. Next I'm going to, I took the flour that's in a separate bowl, the flour mixture. Now I'm going to cream my butter and add my sugar here. Mix that till it's nice and fluffy. Okay, this is mixed in. This took about 3 minutes to get it where I wanted to, light-wise, nice and light. So now we're going to add in the eggs and beat them one at a time. Then the vanilla. Now on slow speed, I'm going to start incorporating the flour and the buttermilk, alternating on low speed. Scrape down, make sure it's all fully incorporated, and then we'll fold in our melted chocolate. And like I said, you can use cocoa powder. There are recipes that do call for it, but you are not going to get the original richness of this cake that comes with using the real true melted chocolate. Off the stand, because then we're going to manually fold in the chocolate. So the chocolate's all folded in, and you see how this stayed nice and whippy and light by folding it in. You don't want to beat it or it'll flatten the cake out. So now we're going to put it in our prepared pans and get ready to put in the oven. So I have my pans ready, and I have my strips on so that they cook evenly and don't hump in the middle, so I don't have to top them. And those strips work really well. You have to soak them in water first. Now, I always tap my pans down real good so you get all the air bubbles out. And then I'm going to put it in the oven, 350, for about half an hour until the cake tester says she's done. Next we're going to work on our frosting. So we're going to get the pecans ready, and I just coarse chop these. You don't want them fine. Just get a nice coarse chop on them and set these aside, because these will go in the frosting here in a little bit. Now we're going to work on the custard part of the frosting. Next, over medium heat, we're going to combine the butter, let that melt down a little bit, brown sugar, and the condensed milk. 2 cans of condensed milk, and the brown sugar. Now we're going to whisk this in really well, and this is going to take about 6 to 8 minutes probably, but you want to get this where it's coming up and all melted in and combined, and cook this. And we want this to be nice and smooth, and you can see that like scum, that's the brown sugar, so that's not fully incorporated yet. So that's why you want to, over medium heat, keep whisking this and get it so it's all incorporated. And when that's done and it's kind of cooked, then we're going to lower the heat and carefully add our eggs. It's the part that always makes me nervous. Now I've lowered the heat. This is pretty smooth. And I'm going to carefully add the egg yolks. And it's going to take a while for these to thicken up. But keep stirring. Stir the entire time. Don't let up. Like I said, it's going to take about 8 minutes. I'm on low heat, but this will thicken it up nice. So it's been about 8 minutes, and you can see how this is much thicker. You don't want it too thick, but you definitely want it this medium thickness, because then we're going to add the pecans and the coconut and the vanilla. So I'm going to transfer this to a big bowl so that we can do just that. I'm going to stir in about 3 cups of the pecans. I want to save some for the top. And our vanilla. And our coconut. And we're just going to stir this all together. Ooh, look at that. It's all incorporated. And that's the frosting. So we're going to set this off to the side and let this cool. Our cake's almost out of the oven, and that has to cool, and then we can assemble it all together. Okay guys, my cakes are out of the oven. They're nice and cool, and I love those bands because you don't have any hump. If anything, it goes down just a little bit, which is great. And I have it on my cake board, on my to take it away here. So I'm going to do it on here. Try to make sure I have my cake a little centered. It's about as good as it's going to get. And you're going to put a good portion of this here in this nice middle layer. Take it out to the edge, because when you cut this cake you want this middle layer to have good definition. Right, that's a nice good thick layer. And when this fully cools, it'll help glue this cake together. we go. Now, some people will take chocolate frosting and do the sides and add cherries on top, and you're more than welcome to do so. But to me, the joy of this cake is to not have so much of that like superficial sweet. When you do the real chocolate in this, the good melted chocolate, it makes for a depth of chocolatey richness that's really nice with the pecans and the coconut. And I just think all that extra frosting actually takes away from the cake. So, that being said, we're just gonna garnish the top. We'll make it a little fancy. I'm just going to do these and make an edging. And there we go. I think that's it. And we're going to chill this, and it stays good chilled a couple days. And then we're going to take it and surprise my friend. So, taste test will come later. So I took my cake to my friends for their birthday, big hit, which I'm really pleased about. And I brought a piece back to do the taste testing with you. So this is what it looks like. And see it that way. And the important taste test. Oh God. That's so good. Using the real chocolate in it and not cocoa powder. Wow, the level just, a flavor just goes off the chart with that. So much better. And not overly sweet. It's richer but not sweeter. And that pecan with the coconut and that caramelly kind of frosting. If you've never had German cake, you need to try it. And if you've never had it the proper way, like this, you really need to try it. Samuel German knew what he was doing. So, once again, another American invention, and a very good one by one of America's own chocolatiers. So, that's German chocolate cake. Try it. I think you'll love it.